Did you request subsequent toxicology testing to be done to assist you in determining the cause of death?
Yes.
And did you also seek out consultations with other experts in various fields, including an anesthesiologist, Dr. Collins?
Yes.
Did you also reference the transcript of Dr. Murray's interview that was played to the jury the last 2 days? Did you read through that interview transcript?
Yes, I did.
Did you also, as an opportunity to assist you in your investigation, seek out medical records from Dr. Murray regarding his treatment of Mr. Jackson on that day?
Yes.
Were you able to obtain any?
No.
At some point following your receipt of the toxicology results and following your consultations with the various medical consultants, were you able to ascertain and make a determination as to the manner of death regarding Michael Jackson?
Yes.
And what was the manner of death?
The manner was homicide.
And on what did you base your conclusion that the manner of death was homicide?
Well, there were several issues. Number one, circumstances, for example, Dr. Murray's statement to the police indicated that the propofol and other medications were administered by another person. Secondly, the propofol...
I'm sorry, that when you say by another person, you mean that Dr. Murray being the other person. When you refer to other person, you mean other than the decedent. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, so you're commenting that Dr. Murray admitted to administering the benzodiazepines and the propofol.
That's correct.
Okay.
Secondly, there was not an appropriate medical indication. The problem that Mr. Jackson was having was that he couldn't sleep, and it's not appropriate to give propofol in that situation. The risk outweighs the benefit.
And did you also consider the setting in which this was taking place?
Yes, the setting was outside of a hospital or clinic. It was apparently in a home. And so there were a number of things that would ordinarily be used with propofol that were not available in this case. For example, there was not an EKG monitor. There was not a precision dosing device like an IV pump so that you know how much propofol the doctor is giving him. There was not equipment available to resuscitate Mr. Jackson adequately if he were to stop breathing. For example, there was not an endotracheal tube or medication that could be used to improve his circulatory function. And then finally, the circumstances, from my point of view, do not support self-administration of propofol.
And why is that?
Well, Dr. Murray tells us in his statement that he gave Mr. Jackson 25 milligrams of propofol, which is not a very large dose. And in order to keep him asleep, he had to give him additional propofol from time to time. He then went to the bathroom for 2 minutes. And when he returned from the bathroom, he found that Mr. Jackson was not breathing. So in order for Mr. Jackson to administer the propofol to himself, you would have to believe that he...
This is speculation.
It's basically,
I'm going to overrule the objection under 801, 802, and 804.
Thank you.
May finish, please.
You would have to assume that Mr. Jackson woke up, although he was, at least to some extent, under the influence of propofol and other sedatives. He was able to somehow administer propofol to himself. The circulation time of the body passed. In other words, if you inject propofol in the leg, it takes a while for it to get to the brain. And then he stops breathing, and all of this takes place in the 2-minute period of time.
okay. And that scenario does not support self-administration from your perspective. Is that accurate?
Yes, to me that scenario seems less reasonable.
Less reasonable than what?
Well, the alternate scenario would be, in order to keep Mr. Jackson asleep, the doctor has to give a little bit from time to time, which is, in this case, going to add up to about 2 or 3 tablespoons of propofol per hour. This is to keep him asleep. Now, we did not find any kind of precision dosing device, which means that essentially the doctor would be estimating how much propofol he was giving to come up with this 2 to 3 tablespoons per hour. And I think it would be easy under those circumstances for the doctor to estimate wrong and give too much propofol.
And some variation of that scenario you find to be more likely.
Yes.
Now, once you were in receipt of all the materials you've referred to, the toxicology findings as well as the consultations, your review of the defendant's